Good day everyone, this is Patrick from EasyFX Code Training System, and this Saturday, this 7th of March 2020, and this is the weekly analysis of Euro, Cable and the Aussie dollar for the second week of March. And as you can see, across all the three major pairs here, they have made a strong recovery for this week or for the last week, and especially for the euro over the last couple of weeks, and all at expense of the US dollar, which has weakened significantly, and especially after the emergency Federal Reserve rate cut on Tuesday night, and it didn't help the US dollar as that continued to weaken with further fears of the global spread of the COVID-19 virus, and especially in the US as well. Let's take a look at the euro to begin with. And for this last week, there was a gap up at the start of the week and then continued to rally to spike through to set a high at 113.55, almost reaching the weekly R3 pivot, but then pull back towards the end of the day to close just below the 113 level, as well as the 162 fib extension level, which I have set from the high of the previous week, or actually the high of February to the low of February, and then the reversal and extension, and went through the resistance zone at the 112, and the previous week it had already punched through the 111 level through the daily 200 EMA, paused for a bit on Wednesday, but then continued to rally higher. So some of the PMIs last week for the Eurozone were, like for the services, was not as good as expected. Even the CPI was lower than expected, but because of the weakness in the US dollar, the euro has benefited. And let's take a quick look at the weekly time frame, and you can see the continuation move from the previous week, and it looks like it could continue to move higher to retest the swing high of the middle of last year at the 114 level, where just above it is the 200 fib extension at 114.13. But then again, there's a key event risk next week with the ECB meeting on Thursday, so we'll see how that is going to be announced by Christine Lagarde, and especially after this long week on Friday, there could be some consolidation, perhaps back down to the 112 level for a retest. And even though the non-farm payroll numbers from the US on Friday night was very strong, it didn't phase the euro as the dollar continued to weaken. Let's take a quick look at the 4-hour time frame. Read it through, and it's only the last few hours of the day that it retraced back, pulled back slightly. All right, so this week there's this coming week there's no specific key news except for the ECB on Thursday, so that's the key one to watch out for. And let's move on to the cable. Cable was strong after finding support at the low of the previous week, right at the 138 fib extension, and then it climbed back up successively all the way for the next 4 days until a strong move on Friday to close just above the 50% fib retracement, punch through the 130 key resistance level. So we could shift the fibs down, and we can either use this fib up here where it shows a potential continuation move next week right up to the 78.6 fib retracement level at just above the 131, and it has already gone through this level, this trend line. So finding support from this previous resistance. So let's mark this as possible target for next week at this 131 level, and let's identify this as a potential interim resistance. All right. We could also continue on further to try to retest the 132. That's where this swing high is. If we use this spike down here, then that's even a tighter zone. But either way, all right. For this coming week, there is GDP and manufacturing production figures on Wednesday. That's the only key news for this coming week. And pound has also benefited from US dollar weakness. So let's take a quick look at the 4-hour time frame. And you can see that it has been very bullish through the last 4 days. And for the week, it's managed to engulf the previous week's bearish move, in fact the last 2 weeks bearish move, and recovered right back up to where it started from before it fell. So this is a strong recovery. Alright, so this area is definitely going to be a strong support level. Okay, let's move on to the Aussie dollar. And the Aussie as well has also recovered after a gap down at the start of the week to just below the 200 fib extension, and then recovered all the way back up to the 138 fib extension. That's where we marked the intermediate resistance, and it has that's where it's at 0.6650 area, so it's recovered above the 0.66 level and attempting to retest the 0.67 level for next week. And this coming week there's a couple of news from China at the start of the week, with Chinese trade balance on Monday and the CPI figure on Tuesday. Nothing else for Australia for the rest of the week. So we'll see how it performs, and basically all are dependent on how the US dollar index moves. So we'll see whether it's able to reach the 0.67 level. If it does get up to even retest the daily 55 EMA, then there could be some pullback and retracement and consolidation. But meanwhile, it needs to build some bullish momentum to push it up there. So we'll see how the China news affect the movement early in the week. Alright, so we'll see what the new weekly pivots are for next week, and do check out my other videos on spot gold and dollar yen for the safe haven trades, safe haven pairs, and also my weekly Ichimoku analysis for euro and cable. So meanwhile, until the midweek analysis, have a good trading week and cheers.